Welcome, Black Hollywood Live fans. On today's Fit Club, we talk the benefits of a low-fat diet versus a low-carb diet and good foods that get a bad rap. Stay tuned for more.
You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, Fit Club.
All right, you guys. I like this song. Every show, as you know, we pick a different song, and this is my choice. Shaka is like, this is an old song. This is a goodie.
I dig it.
We're talking about, it's so cold. Some of these research and reports that we find.
Yes.
Cold news on these topics. You guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm Fallon Mercedes. I'm your host, and you guys can find me online at fitwithfallon.com. Here with my lovely co-host, Shaka. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat at Shaka Strong. Jam it out. Okay. Get a little workout here.
Anymore. Actually, I need to add this to my playlist. Good idea.
Yeah, it's
my workout
good.
playlist.
Yeah.
All right, so talking about that cold news, that sad news, you found this article that talked about that chemicals in your mac and cheese can be harmful. Now, that is sad news because everybody loves mac and cheese,
summertime,
right?
and people are having barbecues. Mac and cheese is an important side. Of course, I have my vegan mac and cheese, so I don't have to worry too much about it. But it was a little crazy. These things called phthalates.
I was going to ask you how to pronounce this because it's spelled Pthalates.
Yeah, so the pH, I guess, is silent, essentially.
So phthalates.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know where they find these things, but you can find them in soaps and plastics and different things.
Mm-hmm.
But so they did a study. They got 30 types of cheese, and I guess 10 were boxed mac and cheese. They had 5 sliced cheese varieties and then like 10 natural cheese varieties. And they found that the boxed mac and cheese had 4 times the amount of phthalates as the natural, and then even if you broke it down per serving, it was 2 times as much. And it looks like they can cause reproductive issues in men and women.
And I've seen this before too. I'm a Netflix documentary kind of junkie, and I remember watching one documentary where a woman. She was having infertility issues, and she kept on saying it was the plastics.
Yeah.
And that's what this chemical really is. But when they package your food, they have to put it in some types of packaging which contains plastic.
Yeah, so it gets in there. So they're not putting this in the food. It's just getting in the food through the processing and manufacturing process. And even if you're a mother is pregnant, it can cause neurodegenerative diseases in the baby. So it's kind of important. They're saying now that they really don't know what is the acceptable low level of phthalates that we can handle, but they have banned it in a lot of products for children.
Yeah, and it's harmful for your reproductive system, for pregnant mothers, for their children.
Yeah. And in mice, it caused cancer.
Yep, that's what I was ready to say. This could be linked to cancer, although they only found it in mice. They haven't found it in the human form. I would say it probably wouldn't be too far off if it's causing it in mice, that it could cause it in us
like
as
a
well.
high enough level. So, again, they reached out to Kraft, which is apparently Kraft is 76% of boxed macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, it's Kraft and Heinz products.
Yeah, I had no idea they'd own the market like that. And they said, look, it contains 1,000 times lower than what's supposed to be the acceptable amount. So I guess the short and long of it is we don't know exactly how harmful they are, but if you want to just avoid them altogether, at least avoid the boxed mac and cheese. You can find it in some of the sliced stuff too, but try to go with natural cheeses or go vegan.
And I find it interesting too that the studies showcase that the UK, they banned a lot of this type of chemical in their production centers for the food that they make over there.
Yeah, and so I guess in general you might just want to watch out for anything that's got plastic involved, but you just don't know because these aren't things that are required to disclose. So you just have to be your own best warrior.
And do you, for your Tupperware, use plastics, or are you part of the new trend has the Tupperware that's made out of glass?
Well, I don't really use Tupperware. I make my food, I eat it.
Yeah, nice and fresh. So you don't meal prep?
No, I don't meal prep. It's just too much work, and then the food's cold and not as good as fresh.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I understand where this article is coming from because, like I was saying, the Tupperware, they're trying to push people to start using glass Tupperware, or even you're seeing people at the gym with the glass bottles
Yeah.
instead of the plastic bottles.
Or boxed water. Yeah, so I do try to avoid plastic containers.
general.
Yeah, so when I buy stuff, I try to make it's in glass or cardboard or whatever it is.
Yeah, and when Dr. Shamika was on the show, she said too, anything that you're eating, putting on your skin, anything, it's going to absorb into you. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing with our food.
Yeah.
You know, whatever we're putting it in, it's going to absorb into the food, and then we're going to consume it as well. So
Yeah.
it's definitely going to help me look at my kitchen a little differently when I eat things.
Especially foods that are like high in fat. It's gonna be a little bit easier. Yeah.
Yeah, because it absorbs, the fat absorbs
Yeah,
these
the
type of
chemicals.
chemicals.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. All right, so can sitting cancel out the benefits of the exercise? Now, I heard this saying, sitting is the new smoking, which I agree, but it seems a little over dramatic. But this study showcases that, you know, prolonged sitting, even if you exercise, can be harmful. Tell us more.
Yeah, I mean, it can cause premature death, cardiovascular disease.
Wait.
Right?
Let's take that back. That was kind of like a hard blow.
Yeah,
So,
premature death. Yeah.
And why is that?
Yeah, so cardiovascular disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes. So apparently, one of the big reasons is when you're sitting, you're not able to regulate your blood sugar as well because your muscles do that when they're active, and so you're missing out on that regulation of your insulin, and so that's why it can lead, especially to type 2 diabetes, which you're really at risk for. And apparently, if you work out about 60 minutes a day, you can cancel out some of these effects except for that insulin sensitivity effect, which is really important. So even if you're a warrior in the gym, you want to make sure that you're not sitting down for long periods of time.
And I found this even, I know it seems interesting that I would say, but I do sit down a lot at my job. I work in a gym, however, I am a manager. So I'm not training clients all day long, even though I do train some clients. And I'm not working out all day, I'm actually working. So I feel that this is true because, you know, even with my body fat percentage compared to, I just did, if you guys are in the area and you go to NutriShop, they have, it's like a $8,000 machine where you can stand on that's more than just body fat percentage. I recently did mine and it showed
the water too? Like,
it shows water,
okay,
muscle, fat, and I thought, my muscle was still pretty high, but it wasn't as high as I thought it would be. And I was thinking, well, wait, I do strength training, you know, I work out every day, but I didn't calculate or take in to account how many hours I'm sitting. I work out for an hour if I'm rushing, less than that, and then I'm sitting. Sometimes I have 8, 9, 10, 12-hour days. So yeah, your body is not moving and functioning. But there are some places who have now the stand-up desks.
The stand-up desk, yeah.
I've seen those. Or even, you know, sometimes I'll grab a stability ball. Just so I'm working my core a little. I'll get up, move around. And what were some of the other things that they suggested?
Well, they said definitely if you're going to be sitting down like a typical job, get up every 30 minutes and for a few minutes walk around. So that's going to really help. You know, park your car further away so you walk a little bit further.
Nobody wants to walk far.
They even suggested the treadmill desk, which I think is going a little. I'm not going to be walking all day as I'm working.
That's funny. I have one woman who comes into my gym every single day. She's a college professor. She has her her working clothes on, so she's not in gym clothes. She has like a nice pair of pants and a blouse, and she is on that treadmill, walking on an incline, doing her her homework or prepping for the kids for their homework for the next day.
So that's where she decides to work. That's good though. That's good.
And I asked her one day, I'm like, what are you doing? She was like, I have so much work. And I figured, you know, I don't want to sit down and
the entire time.
I'll burn some calories while I get it done.
She read this article.
You go, girl. Yes, she must have read this article. Another thing in this article that I found interesting was the prolonged sitting down can also affect food cravings.
Oh yeah,
causing us to eat more and gain more.
Yeah, and I mean, I've worked an office job and I've seen people just eat and gain and eat and gain.
But I didn't know that was the sitting down. That's
well, I felt it was just the boredom of like,
maybe,
you know, sitting somewhere. But yeah, I guess the sitting down just kind of makes you want to eat more.
Yeah. I've been there, done
that.
Yeah. Try to keep those foods away from my desk. Okay, let's talk about this. In less than 10 minutes, you can get a good exerciser.
Yeah.
What do you think of this?
You know, I thought it was good, and but I like that we have to put it into perspective because, so I guess they recommend, and now we have to up the recommendation, but it's typically recommended to get about 2 hours and 30 minutes of moderate exercise a week, which is about 30 minutes a day. But if you want to blunt the sitting down, if you're sitting down all day, you need 60. But so if you have a seated job, go for 60. But if you're pretty active, 30 minutes a day is good. But what they're saying is you can get the same benefits in a 7-minute workout, even like a 10 or 7-minute workout, but that's going to be really, really intense, and that's not something that you should do if you don't have a real background in fitness quite yet.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of us, we hear these things, and if we're not super fit, we're like, oh, I want the 7-minute workout, but now you're going to be leading to injury and risking your body.
Yeah,
So,
and I see this all the time too with people on their phone. They're trying the new app that they got from their favorite Instagram fitness model, and they're doing things where their form is so off, and they're going at a high intensity, and it's really, like you said, it's an injury waiting to happen.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you know what you're doing, and if you don't, that's why you hire a trainer.
Yeah. So just got to start out, ease into it. Don't try to go from A to Z too quickly. But when you do get close, then you can do a 10-minute workout that might be intense that you can get your workout in.
Yeah, and I think too, once you've had experience, you know good form, you know what your body's capable of, you can burn a good sweat. And I mean, I do it in the morning. Sometimes I have a short amount of time for my cardio, and you hit those intervals, and you're
Well, what do you do for your, like, do you have like a quick workout you try to do when you go to work?
If I don't have access to the gym, or if I get to the gym and everybody's on the cardio machines, I honestly will just do the basics and be drenched. I'll do 20 push-ups, not modified push-ups, 20 real push-ups. I'll do 20 full sit-ups. I'll do a minute plank. I'll do 20 burpees, 20 jump squats, and I'll do that 3 rounds, and I'm sweating.
Nice. Yeah, I do the same. I do the burpees, but I just do it till I can't do them.
Yeah,
so I'll do
okay.
the burpees, and I'll do a bunch of kettlebell swings if I can't do them, and I do a little push-up, and then I take my right knee to my right elbow, and then I'll take my right knee to my left elbow.
Yeah.
So just gonna work the obliques, work the core, and that's sort of like my money, quick, 10-minute, gotta get it done.
And it's crazy because you will feel it everywhere.
Yeah.
Your butt, your legs, your core, your heart. It's like, oh, okay.
And
I
you
need to
feel
do
as
this
if you
more
had.
often.
Yeah, you almost feel like you have worked out an hour. You gotta cool down like for a long time because my body heat's so high.
Yeah.
So,
You guys out there, do you have a quick 10-minute workout that you like to do? Please tell us what it is. What does it entail of? We'd like to know, and just share it with us. You guys can find us on our social media at
Fit Club
Fit Club BHL,
Yeah.
or individually hit us up, or even on Twitter.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Low carb versus low fat.
The age-old question,
yeah,
right?
A lot of people, they'll say, hey, I want to lose weight. I'm going to try a diet. Usually they'll turn to two, or one or the other, low carb or low fat or both. But does this really help?
Yeah, it's so funny because I'm such a low carb mentality person now.
I am
but,
too.
But I was thinking as I was reading this article, I remember low fat was a big thing back in the day, right? But they did study it really doesn't matter with low carb versus low fat. What it does matter is what you're replacing. What you're missing with. So a lot of people will decrease the carbs, but they'll find stuff that's fatty but unhealthy.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah, even with, a lot of people do the low-fat yogurt, the low-fat milk, but in those things, they have to up the sugar to make it taste better.
Yeah.
So you're taking out one, but you're adding in something worse. So,
Exactly.
I tell people all the time, just get the regular. If you're going to have, your yogurt, get the Greek, but don't do the low fat.
Yeah, especially if you're gonna do what most people do.
Yeah.
And so they had a very interesting group where they kind of gave them a certain amount of carbohydrates, a certain amount of fat, and they said, up this as you need to until you feel that it's like a natural way for you to be living low carb and low fat. This was all about, can you do this beyond this study? Because that's when I preach to people, I say you can't go on a diet for a couple of weeks. It's got to be a diet for your life.
You have to
that's
be
what
able
you're
to
looking
maintain
for.
it.
And so they found the low carb diet was that people could maintain beyond was 30% carbs and 45% fat. And the low-fat diet was 29% fat and 48% carbs.
Which
so close.
I think it's pretty good because when you're, typically you're trying to lose weight. I mean, I like to put people on, what is it, the 40-20-20?
Yeah.
So it's not too off when it comes to your macros, which is good.
Yeah, so it's about the same, and you lose the same weight. So really, it's going to be what works for you and your lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what I liked about the study too, it's important too to change your relationship that you have with food.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, before I myself even used to be a trainer, I would say count your calories. Yeah. Now that I've evolved as a trainer, that I, put into practice things on my own body, I've learned it's not necessarily, how many calories, you should take out. It's the quality of the food that you're eating and your relationship with the food. Yeah. Why are you eating? Is it because you're bored, like you said, at work? Is it because you're stressed out? Is it because, that's just an emotional bad habit that you have?
Yeah, and I love this one because they found that participants just naturally ate 500 calories fewer. So they were just paying attention and just eating right, and they just naturally ate 500 calories fewer.
And I think that's why it's so important too. If you are struggling with food addiction or just food in general, if you're working out all the time, but it's the food, the nutrition aspect that you're struggling the most with, you should be doing a food journal. I think MyFitnessPal is great, but I would even go a step further and write it down. There's something that, when you're writing it down, you have to mentally think about it. You become more aware.
Yeah, and they also say taking pictures is good as well. And the people they've done some studies that you take a picture of your food, you just tend to eat better.
Yes.
Because, you can see it. So, yeah.
And posting it.
Yeah, and now
being
you
held
post
accountable.
Then you really make yourself make better choices.
Okay. Number 5, some foods that have a bad rap that are actually good for you.
Yeah, I was surprised by a few of these, actually.
You know what? I was too, but I think it's something that we do need to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So the first one, carrots. A lot of people, and even when I recently got a nutrition plan from NutriShop, one of the things that they say do not eat on their nutrition plan is carrots.
Really?
And I asked the lady, I said, why is that? And she said, because of the sugar. And when you compare it to the glycemic index, which is an index that shows you how much sugar foods have, so it's even healthy foods, they'll be on there. And carrots landed at 11. So the GI scale goes from 1 to 20, and carrots landed at 11, which isn't that high.
Yeah, it's low to medium.
And I would rather you eat that than have something that's processed, because your body can naturally break it down.
Yeah, and carrots have plenty of fiber and just really good vitamins and minerals as well. So.
I had a chef cook for me once. I swore up and down that it was sweet potatoes. I almost went into the kitchen and asked to look, but he cut up carrots. And he just baked them, but he cut them up in a way that it looked like sweet potato fries. And he baked them, and they were so sweet and so juicy. But that was, that was the sugar content, the natural sugar coming out.
Exactly.
And I asked him, I was like, "Did you add brown sugar to this or anything?" And he was like, "Nope, it's just." And then he added a little sea salt on it, and it was like heaven.
So are carrots back in?
Carrots are back in.
Nice.
All right, number 2, bananas. This is another one that gets a bad rep for having a lot of sugar, but again, it falls at the same place that carrots do on the GI scale.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard about carrots, so I always thought carrots were safe. But bananas, I've been like, kind of stay away from.
Really,
yeah. And I thought the more ripe they are, the more sugar content they're going to have. I've heard that.
Yeah.
And I never looked into it. So this was great to know that bananas are good. I like to have them in my smoothies.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, the trick is, if you still are concerned, and even again when I went to get my nutrition counseling from NutriShop, they said, okay, if you're gonna have the carrots and you're gonna have the bananas or any type of fruit, you want to eat it after you work out. Yeah. You don't. If you're worried about sugar content, you want to make sure that when you eat it, your body is going to use it as fuel and not store it as fat.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I went on I want to say it was a 7 or 10 day fruit smoothie diet, just before I was vegan, just trying to figure out how to maintain that competition shape. And I like got in some of the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
Like I was just, and because I wasn't having anything bad during the day, it was just like that protein shake with a little protein and a bunch of fruit, and I had maybe 4 of those a day, and I was in great shape. So it made me think, though, fruit is not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah,
for
and
you.
I think it's what you pair it with.
Yeah.
You know, when you're having tons of fruit with, you know, processed foods and bad things, that's when it becomes more of an issue. But if you're having an all-around clean diet,
and
it's natural at the end of the day.
And your portion control.
Yes,
so.
portion control is huge.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, grapes.
Same thing.
Same story.
They're not as much sugar as people think they are. And 16 grapes are only 55 calories, which I didn't realize.
Oh, and if you put the grapes, especially the green ones, in the freezer,
so good.
It's like popsicles.
So
you can
good.
just eat, and it's just heaven for you.
And we know that they have resveratrol, which is like one of those anti-aging miracles for our cells. So.
Number 4, nuts and butters.
Yeah, again, we're so concerned about fat content, but they've got good protein content as well. But you do have to watch out because for 2 tablespoons you get 160 calories.
Yeah. Well, I think too, the nut butters or, your peanut butter, your almond butter, all that stuff, you want to look for the salt and the sugar content. I think that's what makes it worse because, it is natural, but when it's processed and it has a bunch of additives in it, that's when it becomes unhealthy for you.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that you're using like a natural brand or maybe even making it yourself.
That's what I was going to say, cashew butter or something like
Just
that.
put it in the blender and boom.
Yeah. And number 5, starchy veggies such as sweet potatoes, corn, peas, and beans.
Yeah, like we've always kind of gone with sweet potatoes are the only one you can have, right? But potatoes are just as fine, corn are just as fine, and that starch, they act slowly, so it's like slow digesting fiber, so it's really great for you.
Yeah, and an endocrinologist told me that if you want to eat something that has a lot of starch in it, a lot of carbs, you want to pair it with a protein, and that's going to slow your glucose level from spiking high. So it's going to slow down your sugar level from spiking high.
Yeah.
So maybe, I don't know.
And even these they won't spike it too high at all. So it's sort of like you could pair that with I guess a fish or something like that.
Yeah, that would help. All right, you guys, that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Quick show.
Yeah,
That was good.
knocked
Very
them out.
informative.
Yeah.
If there's anything out there that you guys want us to research and dive into and talk about on the show, please let us know. We love hearing from you, and we love even more when you give us 5 stars on our iTunes app, and you give us the thumbs up on YouTube. You guys can find me online, same place all the time, fitwithfallon.com or at fitwithfallon on social media. Shaka, where can they find you?
Shaka Strong, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
All right, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
Hollywood redefined.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.